Okay, everybody watching this video or podcast or listening to this podcast on Spotify or wherever you are listening to, we are bringing back the Crowder Hours podcast, and we are alongside now Priestahh and ZooMaa. Those are going to be our guests for the first one. We have a lot to talk about, but overall, the podcast is just going to be a little bit about CDL, a little bit about their backgrounds, history of gaming, and just a bunch of other bullshit that comes to our minds when we're talking. This is going to be a great episode. I have two of my best friends in the scene alongside of me, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Preston, hello. Tommy, hello. And Preston is Priestahh, and ZooMaa is Tommy. So just for the clarification, when we do that a lot, you guys know who's who. But there you go. Hello, guys. How you guys doing today?
What's up, Chris? What's happening? We're doing real good.
Happy to be here. Yeah, this is probably the first time I talked to Preston in a while, to be honest, because we've been so busy with the season and stuff, dude. Everyone's been scrimming, VOD watching, and doing all that, and
other than like text messages, like
of course, but like actually talk and spoke about your team, and I can't actually wait to catch up about that. But so we can get right into it. I think let's start off this podcast with a little bit of the CDL, right? We just got the pools announced. We just had the exhibition match and the kickoff classic, and we saw some teams play. Of course, not the most serious gameplay, but I'm sure Preston, you were excited to play, and Tommy, you were excited to watch. I was excited to watch as a coach, regardless of how we played. But we played, it was nice to see how this game is, and like overall, like, what are your guys' thoughts of this game so far? I know a lot of pros have like voiced their opinion on Twitter, but I haven't talked to either of you like in depth of what you think of this game compared to last year, and like the vibes of this game and what you think the future holds.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. I really like the game. I enjoy it a lot. Obviously I'm in a different situation because I'm not playing it as much now, but I like watching it. I feel like last year with like the 5v5 and stuff, it was just really hectic for a viewer to watch. I feel like there was just a lot going on. Now I feel like it's a little bit more slowed down and a little bit more methodical, so it's pretty cool to watch. And I think the gunplay is cool. I think the movement's cool. The colors look great. So I just think it's a good game. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I like it a lot too. The main thing I was happy about was that I didn't have to run another MP5, bro. I thought I was gonna have to run MP5 again. I was like, bro, I just for some reason that gun I just don't like. But like the way the game plays is real good. The SMD is kind of like iffy right now because it's like super defensive heavy on like almost every map. But I mean, I guess that's how it should be, right? I feel like almost.
Well, we can go into that, right? A little bit. I think people after the exhibition matches were talking about like S&D being a little boring, a little iffy, and it's a lot of it goes down to the no snipers and the no smokes right now, and that GA makes it a little bit weird. But to clarify the reason why, I mean, you guys know more about this than me, which is actually great. The one-way smokes in this game are really, really tough to play against, especially when, you can't see your opponent and your opponent is someone like Shotzzy. It's not fun not to be able to see that guy, right? And you have the smokes that are a lot of one-way smokes, which adds a lot of randomness. I just think that needs to be fixed in general if they could. I really don't know how you fix that. But right now there's an issue where if you throw a smoke in the game, you can see through it, but the enemy can't like see you. Yeah, it's a one-way, and
they call them the one-way.
Yeah, they call them the one-way. So
to jump into it, not to use it as like a smoke on the cross.
Yeah, you're not smoking for cross anymore. You're using it to like challenge gunfights, and it's like super super awkward. So as of now, it's very hard to play with those in it, and that's why I think what Preston just said, having the defensive side of maps, it makes it really hard to have that offensive push where you can't stop a cross, because if you have two Krigs or XM4s looking at the cross, you're just gonna get melted. So the style of search right now is definitely in a weird spot, and the same thing with snipers. I personally just think they have to find a way to make the sniping skill gap more of a skill gap, because right now, currently, for me at least, I think it's just too easy. I feel like I can snipe in a pro match right now and do well. And
it's pretty easy.
That's not how it should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, bro. I haven't sniped in like 2 years, and I went to like a pub, and
I saw that clip.
Started making like highlights, dude. Dude, that was only one clip. I hit like 5 of those. I was like, bro, what is happening? I was like, this thing is insane. Like, snipers are actually nuts in this game.
And what even is it? Like, is it just the aim assist? It's the aim assist, right?
It's
just so easy to hit shots.
Yeah, I just think it's very easy to hit shots with the aim assist of like when you're scoped in, and in a pro player's hand in a 4v4 S&D, it makes it almost like too overpowered because there's not that gap. I like watching sniping in S&D a lot, but I love watching the good snipers be good, and then having the other snipers, not be able to keep up. But right now, I just think that aim assist of how easy it is to use needs to go down. Even if they just did where in private matches or CDL matches, they take out the aim assist on the snipers. That's what they did in, was it Black Ops 3? Was it like
Yeah,
that?
it was Black Ops 3.
Yeah,
Black Ops 3 had
that
no
was
misses.
amazing. But that was
so
like,
good.
if you're gonna pull
Yeah,
out a sniper, it was a risk because it was not as easy to do, and then you're stuck with a
Yeah.
sniper, and you can't, if you're pulling off those plays, that is awesome and it's cool to watch. But not everyone can do that. You have your big snipers like Dashy, Simp, and all these guys doing it. You put this in their hands now where they can't miss, and it just kind of makes like S&D a little cheesy from the competitive standpoint. That's why I think it's weird.
It was so good that in the beginning of the game, people were taking them out in respawn. Weren't people pulling them out in respawn, like holding down hills with it?
That happened to us.
S&D, people were using 2
Yeah,
snipers. That's how you knew. I was like, okay.
Actually, like nuts. Yeah, it's actually nuts.
Yeah.
So I definitely think, until something happens with the smokes, I think we won't see snipers in S&D.
Yeah,
It's
Until
weird
they
though,
can
because I
only
actually kind of like it's like super defensive heavy, but at the same time, like on offense, you have to do something like together, or else you're just never gonna win. Which I kind of like actually.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. Like it was like weird at first to play without smokes and snipers, but at the same time, like you have to get super creative on offense to actually win those offenses.
And that's the best thing. So I actually, as a competitor and a coach, I love the current S&D that we're playing in. I'm talking more of a spectator's point of view of, those crazy flashy plays. I love the fact that like you have to find that intro pick together, team shoot, and then make a decision of how you want to play that off of the pick that you get and the information that you have. I think it's really cool, and it's like kind of like a game of chess to me. But I definitely think if they were to fix like the sniping gap a little bit and fix the smokes, I think overall for the entire scene and spectating S&D, I think it'd be really cool. I agree with you though, Preston. I love that kind of S&D where it's like so team oriented and you have to team challenge, and it's not just some random guy running up the middle of the map through a smoke or something. But I think they probably gonna have to find the balance to figure that out for the better of the season. I hope they do.
Oh, yeah, because what, snipers have been in every single competitive COD, right? There hasn't been any other
that's like a
COD where
staple.
snipers just weren't in.
Yeah,
Nope,
that's a staple of COD. So I hope
It's
they
just
figure that
weird
out.
because like in this game, it's like op angles, bro. Like snipers and checkmate are going into the plane, sniping in the plane.
Oh yeah.
I've seen people go in Garrison, go in the vent with the sniper. It's like, what the heck? Like,
Good
it's
play.
just weird. It's
Yeah.
just weird. Yeah, it's a good play in this game.
Great
It's weird.
But yeah, you tried that in Black Ops 3 with no aim assist, and someone slid on you in that checkmate plane, you're dead. Yeah,
You're
like
dead.
it makes it
Yeah.
a lot different. So
Yeah.
hopefully they fix that. But moving forward, what do you guys think of both of your teams? And Tommy, you're in a little bit of a different spot. We'll get to that a little bit later. But what do you guys think of your new teams? This is the first time me and Preston haven't teamed in a while, and how do you like New York? How do you like Minnesota, and how's everything going?
Yeah, I mean, I'll kick it off with my team. I mean, right now they brought up DiamondCon, which is pretty cool. We had him on our academy team, so it's pretty cool that we had somebody on our academy team. He kind of got called up, kind of like actual.
Yeah, he's
sports,
probably
like
super hyped, bro.
Yeah, like he just got called up. He's like shit happened with one of our players, and we need to bring you up. We need to bring you up to the big leagues. You know what I'm saying? So they brought up DiamondCon, and dude, I've been watching him play. And obviously, I don't go too far in depth with the Kickoff Classic because they just been playing for like 2 or 3 days. So it's like they were kind of at a huge disadvantage, So just watching them scrim like the last couple of days, like I'm just really impressed. Like they actually look pretty good. I'm really impressed with DiamondCon. I didn't know much about him, honestly. So just watching him and seeing what he can do with the M4 is pretty impressive. And then you know what you're gonna get out of Clay Machination. Like I've known those guys for forever. So just seeing what they can do. They're a great team, and I think they're definitely going to turn a lot of heads. I definitely look at them as a top team in the league for sure. So I wouldn't doubt New York. I mean, I'm probably biased as fuck because I'm on New York, but I like to say how it is, and I think they're a top team for sure. And I really like Mac on the sub because when I was playing, Mac was running the AR, and then kind of when I stepped down, Mac kind of switched back to that sub role. And I really like him on the sub. I think it fits his play style a lot better.
Well, Mac's like a playmaker, right? Like he just you just let him roam and make plays, and he's gonna fry.
He's talented, man. We played New York today. We scrimmed them, and they looked really good. I think having that fresh mind of DiamondCon too. I feel like you see a lot of these players right now get called up, and in the scenario that DiamondCon gets called up, right? He's taking your spot. He's got big shoes to fill. He's got a lot of hype inside of him ready to go because this is like his moment. And I think a lot of the times these younger amateur players with the right people around them, and you have like leadership like Clayster, you have your staff and your coaching staff over there too. It helps them out a lot because I think a lot of the time some players like that thrive because of how much they want it. And we were kind of talking about it before the podcast. That attitude helps a lot. And that's why both of you are so successful in your careers right now, in my opinion. Is you guys always put in like that extra work and that extra time watching VOD on your own and figuring out your own issues and styles in your play. I think having that mindset is going to be good for him. And overall, so far,
sure.
you guys look pretty good in the scrims today, and I hope they do well.
I was watching a little bit. I was watching a little bit versus you guys. They look good. And then one thing with DiamondCon is like, usually with a young player, they struggle with their comms.
Yeah.
But DiamondCon's like, dude, his comms are like really good for an amateur player, like coming up into the scene. Like I was really impressed by the way he directs people around the map. Like his small talk is really good. He's always calming and telling people what he's doing, and that stuff, something like that goes a long way.
Oh, that's the most important. That's the most important thing.
especially as an AR player. Like I was even talking to my team about that. Like I was like, yo, like Mike and Lamar, like you guys have to like direct us around a little bit more, just because like I'm a sub, I'm trying to get in the mix. Like you guys have to tell me where to go, type of thing. So that especially as an AR definitely goes a long way.
No, 100%. So I've been really impressed with him. I've been impressed with the whole team, honestly. Like Clay's been playing well. You know what you're gonna get out of Clay. Asum's like, you know, that young talented crackness that you want in a sub player. You know Asum, Chris. Like he's just twisted out of his mind.
Yeah, I have something to say about him after you're done, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah, and he just looks great. Like he looks really good. And then I'm so happy to see Mac back on the sub role. So I think it's just a good fit. I think the team's a good fit. I wish I was playing, but shit happens. And I'm happy to still be here and still support the squad. And I think they're gonna do well.
Yeah, and I think having you around too, like in the environment, and
I'll be around.
Yeah, exactly. You being around and still helping the team and still being a part of the team is gonna go a super long way. The thing with you guys when you guys played, I feel like people underestimate how big of a change that was for your team, and then people were giving Asum a lot of shit because he didn't play that well in one of the maps of the exhibition match.
Yeah, it was one match.
Asum is a player. Yeah, to defend Asum for some people that were giving him a lot of slack, Asum is a player that goes in first no matter what, and he is one of the most selfless players probably in the CDL as a whole. If you throw a completely different team and one player makes a team completely different, like with the play styles and how you're calming and how you're doing this and how you're approaching every hill, you throw a player like him out of his groove, it's going to be very hard to find that right off the bat. So people were giving him some slack, but someone like Asum, I feel like people overlook how important players like him are that actually throw their body into the hill or throw their body out first every single time. So players like Mac that are really talented could even be more comfortable in their role. So I think you guys look good. I think having you around and, giving your support there shows a lot about your character and also just going to help the culture of New York a lot. So I'm super excited to see you guys. And now moving on to you, Preston, how's your team? How's everything been since the split?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting at the beginning because I was like, fuck, like me and Chris have been together for like 3 years now. So it's a whole culture switch for me, having different coaches, different players on my team, whatever. I mean, it's not as bad like as I thought it would be, to be honest. Like I'm pretty comfortable now. Yeah. And I like how this team like is motivated and like watches VODs. Like everyone's watching VODs, which is super nice because everyone's giving input and everything like that. Like I said, it was weird at first, but I think we're all getting comfortable with each other and we just all want to just grind and we're just all motivated, which is super nice.
Well, yeah. So we talked a little bit right after we knew the split was going to happen before anyone knew. And I've always been a fan. People hear me on Hardpoints. People hear me all the time. I talked about it with New York all the time. I love Lamar as a player or accuracy on Minnesota Rocker. He is a really good leader and he's very like-minded in the way. At least you can correct me if I'm wrong, Preston, because you have had more experience with him now. Like actually teaming with someone, you definitely, get a little closer to the person and you see how they think. I think the way he thinks about Call of Duty is super smart. And I think having a player like that on a team is almost like what we were missing. And we'll kind of get to the reason why Atlanta FaZe split and stuff. I know a lot of people want to know about that. And we kind of talked about it briefly. But that mentality on a team is almost more important than having the talent sometimes. Of course, you cannot win championships without super talented players. But you have to get everyone on the same page. And I think you going from, we were together for so long. We've had like a very like-minded mentality in a very many ways with 100 Thieves and the Atlanta FaZe. And even when we played on FaZe Clan together. But having someone like Lamar around, that's why we kind of knew, like I told you, they have a great coaching staff. And I think you're going to be in a really good spot this year. And I personally think last year with the team that we had, you weren't able to do what you were supposed to do. And this year, at least when we scrim you, of course, we haven't seen too much of the league yet. I don't want to gas you up too much, but you've been playing amazing. And that goes a long way because you're comfortable. You have someone in game that's going to, tweak out a little bit. I'm sure Lamar has had his episodes and scrims and stuff just like I did when we were teaming together. and
Yeah,
that
no,
that helps.
Lamar, he just like he reminds me of like like when like obviously when we teamed or like when me and Austin teamed, like
Yeah.
he's just like that player that's always like on top of you, which could get annoying at times, but at the same time it's really good because you have to have the mentality, right? Like for me, I just had the mentality like, yo, I'm not gonna get annoyed. Like he's just trying to get better at the game. He just wants to win, type of thing. And if we all have our team on that same like mindset, it just makes it so much easier just to progress and get better.
Yeah. So I think yeah, you landed in a very good spot because the ownership in Minnesota has always been super nice to me. The coaching staff's good, and then you just have 4 players now. Where I feel like when you guys first announced, people didn't give you guys as much credit as you deserved, and of course that's just how it's always going to be. But I think you have 4 players that are super motivated on the same page, and I think anyone that's ever talked to any of the players on your team would always say like, those are just 4 good guys. You can talk to you guys about anything. So if like someone's coming at you, you're gonna have a really good team chemistry aspect because if Lamar is being super annoying one day and he is going like super leader mode on everybody, which I did, Slasher does, all those really like leadership players do, you guys all have that mentality of like it's coming from a good place, and then you guys can talk about it, figure it out, and get on the same page. So you guys looked really good in scrims, and I've been happy for that. But I'm glad I'm glad you landed in the spot.
And that's one thing too. Like I was telling you a little bit before we started, was I was surprised with because like there'll be times where like Lamar will tweak or like Dylan will say something, but like literally like after the scrim, like Lamar will come back and be like, and honestly like a lot of it's towards like Mike, and like Mike could take it. So like like because Lamar and Mike haven't teamed for like long at all, so they don't know how each other are like fully, but like afterwards like Lamar and Dill like or whoever is like tweaking will be like, yo, like that's on me, like I shouldn't have said it that way, like whatever. And like that surprised me a lot, just being able to come out and just be like, yo, that's my bad for like saying like that, like I'm working on that shit. And like I just think that's really good for the team, and that surprised me a lot.
Yeah. You guys have a really good balance. Like I feel like you guys know what I mean by that when I say balance. Like I feel like the roles just work. Like I feel like you have Lamar, who's gonna be that slow AR looking over everybody. Then you have Major, who's like the next step up, like kind of making plays, doing what he does. Major, he's very methodical with the way he plays. And then you have Dylan, who's like he's an aggressive sub, but he's also
Dylan's a weird aggressive
and
though.
like he's playing like creddies and like weird ass angles.
And he's doing weird stuff, and that's annoying as fuck to play against. And then there's just Pete Dog, the warrior, as my dad would say, the warrior, just going around, just
trying to fly around and shit.
It's just a good balance. And then you guys had like Chris said, the attitudes on top of it. You guys have a good head on your shoulders. You guys are all thinking in the right spot. You're all on the same page. Like you guys got a good team over there. And
it's weird. Like when you see our names on paper, like it just doesn't look right, but like once you think about it, it kind of makes sense, and not a lot of people are gonna understand that, and obviously like they're just gonna have to see as the season goes on.
I feel like you guys would just be a hard team to play against because of how you guys look on paper. It's not a normal team. Like it is a little bit weird, like on paper, but I think that's hard. That makes it harder for people to play against. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see you guys play, bro. For real.
I'm super excited too.
People underrate Mike, man. Major Maniac. People just underrate him. That's just what it is. Even last year, he teamed with Simp, Priestahh, Celium, and Abizi. And like he never let I don't care what anyone says. I will always take this stance. He never let us down last year. Plain and simple. Not one event did Mike let us down, and not one practice did he did either. His thing with him is when he has a main AR next to him, I think he's such a good flex role, like that Maddox role in Black Ops 4, where he can use an ICR when needed, and he'll be really good, but he's also a little bit more aggressive and very good at making those plays with the AR. And then having Dylan, Dylan plays those weird, like Dylan's aggressive, like or attaches aggressive, but in a weird way. And he'll get to the spot he needs to get, but then he'll play a weird angle. He's not gonna run at you like crazy, and then you have Preston over here just jumping off top ropes of everything he comes from. So it's like
it's weird. It's like Dylan and Mike are like the finessers. Like Mike will always be throwing shoulders, like finessing his life, and then me and Lamar just like chowing everything. It's weird.
Yeah. So
Lamar be liking the chow, bro. He likes the chow.
He does. He's actually been fucking he's actually been frying in this game. Like he didn't get a show. He didn't show like what he's capable of in that match. Like he's been fucking frying. Actually,
no, Lamar has his moments, man. Lamar has his moments. Yeah, I think Lamar just does a lot of focusing on others sometimes because of what he's trying to do. Where he's obviously making sure everyone's in check, and he tweaks out here and there, but it's for a good thing. So sometimes he forgets to worry about himself. But Lamar is a lot better than people think, and so I'm happy you guys both have your teams in order and stuff. But moving forward, we can talk a little bit about what is it? The groups. Let's talk about these groups that got announced, and let's see how this goes. One sec. Okay,
Sure.
so as you guys can see on your screen, we have the stage 1 groups, and it's on youtube.com/COD League. Group A is Dallas Empire, Los Angeles Thieves, Minnesota Rocker, London Royal Ravens, New York Subliners, and Seattle Surge. And then Group B is Atlanta FaZe, Optic Gaming, or Chicago Optic, Florida Mutineers, Toronto Ultra, Los Angeles Guerrillas, and Paris Legion. And that right there is going to be your groups. Overall, what do you guys both think of those groups? Let me hear your honest opinions on if you think one group's harder, one group's, if they're both balanced. Like, what do you guys think?
So for me, I feel like Group A looks more balanced. Like I feel like there might be some mixture going on in there. Where I feel like Group B is kind of like I just have a clear-cut top 3 in my Group B, me personally. But with Group A, I feel like it can get a little bit more mixy for sure. I feel like there's a lot of good players in that group and a lot of good teams, and people could turn heads. So I think Group A is the harder group.
What do you think, Preston?
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little bit more balanced in a sense, not like top heavy as much. But the more like I look at Group B, it's like Ultra is actually pretty fucking good. I don't know how Paris and the Gorillas are like playing because I haven't really played them too much. So that's like my question mark there. But even Group A, like Seattle Surge, like they have so much potential to be such a nasty team. So like every team in that Group A is just really, really good right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm looking at both of them, I definitely think Group A is kind of scary. All those teams in Group A, man, are good, and on paper, they're all really good teams. You go to Group B, and that's our group. People might say we're a little top heavy if you're just looking at some of these teams on paper, but I think Toronto Ultra is super underrated. I don't even last year. They were good last year. I just don't think people really gave them too much credit. We scrim the Gorillas, man. The Gorillas have that, they have the play style down. It just depends on whether or not they're hot, in the sense of gun skill and stuff. When they're hot, they're going to be on a very methodical team that plays correctly. And then Paris, we haven't played Paris too much to really know much about them. I saw them play at the exhibition, and they definitely did not look bad, but I just haven't seen them play personally. I don't know if you guys have scrimmed them that much. Enough. Yeah, enough to see.
They don't look that bad. I mean, when I was playing, we played them a little bit, and they weren't that bad. And then I've been watching Optic because Optic streams their scrims, and they were playing them one day, and they didn't look too bad against them either. And the Kickoff Classic, they looked pretty good too. I think the one thing to just really notice when you look at these groups is damn, dude, there's a lot of competition these days. You know what I'm saying?
every team has the potential to beat anyone right now. I feel like
bro. There's just so much talent, dude. I just look at all these teams and I'm just thinking about the players on every single team. There's just so much talent across the board. It's crazy, how far the league has come. There's just so many good players.
Oh, especially with the 4v4
This league is gonna be fucking nuts. This league is gonna be crazy.
I think it's gonna be the best year of Call of Duty we've ever had. I really do.
Yeah.
I think that this is going to be the craziest matches you see. I think the way with this game plays out, I think the spawns are super consistent. So I think you're going to see a lot of these top teams, especially towards the end of the year, get their, shit down. And when they're playing, it's going to be like a game of chess and hardpoint, who makes that one rotational gunfight or who makes that one play that actually gets them back-to-back hills where you can chain that 120 and go from there. Search and destroy is going to be so team-oriented depending on how the the smokes and snipers go. So I think this might be one of the most competitive years. I know we say this every year, but it's really how it just keeps going. The more serious the CDL gets and the bigger it gets, 4v4, going from 5v5 to 4v4, the talent on all these teams, man, your worst player in quotations is not bad at all. Back in a couple years ago, the worst player on the team, kind of not the best player in the world. Now it's your worst player on the team is just not even close to being bad. So this is cool. I mean, what do you guys, I'll ask you this just for the podcast sake. Group A and Group B, give me your top 4, or sorry, your top 3. It's 6. I'll give mine too. I mean, I know you guys are, have your own teams and bias, but do your best.
I'll go Dallas, LA, New York. Actually, I'll go Dallas, Minnesota, New York. Not because Preston's on the literally not because Preston's on the podcast. I'll definitely put Minnesota up there. I just think LA Thieves have been looking a little shaky, bro. To be honest, they looked shaky in the Kickoff Classic, and just by what I've seen off scrims, at least when we played them, just because when you play teams, you get an understanding of how good they really are. You know what I'm saying? So obviously you don't know what the hell a team like that's gonna do. They're so talented, across the board. They have like some of the best players that ever played a game. So like I feel like anybody can come out of that Group A.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I had to go off right now based off what I've seen, I would go Dallas, Minnesota, New York, and then for Group B, I'm going the first three: FaZe, Optic, Florida. Like that one's easy to me.
Okay, what do you think, Preston?
I'm gonna say us, Dallas, and LA, just because I haven't seen like New York play much with their new roster, but they obviously have the potential to definitely get in there. And then same thing for Group B. I mean,
first three.
Atlanta, first three.
Yeah, Atlanta, Optic, and Florida. Yeah.
I don't know. I think Florida and Toronto are pretty fucking close though. Like they're both really good. So.
Okay, I feel.
I think Florida is disgusting. I don't know.
They're good,
why,
dude. No, well,
I think they're really good.
I think
I'm a big fan of Neptune. I'm a big fan of that.
Okay.
Neptune is nice.
So it's weird that I'm not a player anymore. And usually you can easily tell how good someone is. You can throw me in a hard point with someone and give me like one hard point scrim and I'll tell you how good the person is. And I was usually pretty accurate my whole career about that. I just don't play against him, but I've noticed like just the way he plays, he looks pretty good. So I'm excited to see him play more. But I don't have a full opinion on him. But I just think that Florida team, Awakening and Skies, have a very good gun skill. Like they play very well, and they don't miss a lot of bullets that they shoot. And then having Slack there too to like kind of be like the older veteran player. Slack is, I know people don't give him a lot of credit, but he has won a championship in every game he's ever played, regardless of whatever happened in Seattle last year in Modern Warfare. But that was Modern Warfare, in my opinion, wasn't like, it was like weird. That was like a different Call of Duty. But yeah, it was a little weird. So he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to win, and he knows how to play as a team when he gets to like the right teammates around him. So I definitely think that team is underrated for sure, even though like people like think they're good. They're a weird concept, but I definitely think for Group A, I'm gonna go Dallas and Minnesota for sure, and I think those two teams look like the most organized. When I play you guys, or when we scrim you guys, or when I watch you guys play, it looks like you approach every situation with a plan. Whether the plan goes right or wrong, it looks like you guys know, like, you know what you're doing. LA, for me, I'm going to put them as third. I think they're a little shaky right now. I haven't seen New York play enough to, like, know. That's the issue. And I don't think London or Seattle are fully there yet, but I think they have the potential with, like, the talent. It's just LA Thieves right now. I think it's the same thing we saw in 100 Thieves when they first started in Black Ops 4. I just think they need to get the reps in and like get on the same page. I think everyone buying into Slasher and Cap's method of how to play, they have the talent, they have the resources. I think Kenny's a really good teammate. I think they're going to be really, really good, and I think they're only going to get better. The only thing that would be their issue is personalities later on, but I think with the coaching staff and who they have around them, I honestly don't think that will be that much of an issue. So I hope they do well. So that's my top three.
Bro, it's like we said, like Group A, it's so hard to pick a top three because there's just so much
there's a lot of talent.
You know what I'm
saying? Even you look at
so
Seattle, man. Like Seattle doesn't look amazing yet, but they look at the players on the team.
Like, like they could be nasty. You know, like you just don't know. And especially like LA Thieves, like we're saying now, like I said, they're looking shaky, but like in their heads, they're probably like it's just preseason.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
Like, they're gonna keep putting in the work. And you don't know what the fuck they're going to pull out of their ass. So.
Yeah, it's the same thing for us. Like, people are giving us a lot of slack, but it's like, it's preseason. The whole point of preseason is to learn and get better and better and better until it actually matters, like, halfway through the year towards champs. You want to get there, but you never want to be bad. Plain and simple. You know, like, you practice, you never want to be bad. But some teams have to just get on the same page earlier. And then Group B, for me, biasly speaking, I'm going to take my team. And then I'm going to go Optic. They've looked pretty good so far, honestly, like overall. And then I think Florida is probably my third, although the bottom three that I didn't pick have a lot of potential. I haven't seen enough of Paris, so I can't really speak on them too much. And then Gorillas, depending on the day that they play, I think they're really good or like sometimes a little iffy. And then Ultra's a close third. I think Ultra is very good. It just depends on how well they mesh. So those are, I mean, pretty much similar predictions, but we'll see how the year plays out. And, you know, I'm excited to watch everybody play. But we can move to the next topic, a little bit less of CDL teams and other things, and more about like you guys and, you know, what people want to hear from you guys. I got a lot of different things. Before we go into the Priestahh, you know, like the Priestahh split from Atlanta FaZe, we'll talk a little bit about that. And then, of course, the ZooMaa retiring, or not retiring, but stepping down, of course, you know, taking a step back for a little bit. We'll get there. But someone on Twitter when I tweeted out about this podcast, they said they want to know a little bit about like a practice grind, team bonding, coach-player relationship. We kind of talk about best teams this year already, and then predictions of Rookie of the Year and MVP. So we'll go like step by step here. Overall, with like this practice grind and it being online because of COVID and everything going on, do you think like how much value do you put into the practice grind and like the online, and like do you think like the attitude there like really matters, you know, like, or do you just think like if this went back to land, it would be way different? Like, I personally don't think there's that much of a difference in my opinion. You guys know how I agree, like view this. We'll get there. But yeah, I want to hear what you guys think about like how important is like team bonding and coach player relationship, and then like the practice grind, all those like topics combined. Like, what do you guys think of that? Like, how important is it? And let me hear what you're thinking.
Well, I mean, people might disagree with me on this, but I think like team vibes, team bonding, like getting along with your teammates, like goes such a long way. Like, I feel like if there's like some internal beef or like something going on between teammates, or people don't get along outside the game, like that chemistry and the vibes in game are just not going to work. But people disagree on me sometimes like that. Some people have that mentality, like business is business, you know, like, you know, like
I agree with that, because then there's always like that tension, and you always want to like call each other out and stuff, and you just get annoyed.
Yeah, and the trust goes away, and the confidence goes away, and it's like it just doesn't work. So I think that that's a huge factor for sure. So I really hope teams are doing things to, you know, go get a drink or something together. You know, go get go to dinner every once in a while. You know what I'm saying? I think the Minnesota guys, you guys have been chilling, right? You guys have been doing your thing over there.
Sometimes, yeah, not too much, just because, you know, obviously, like, we're not trying to go out a lot, but yeah, once in a while we'll get together and just chill.
Yeah.
And that's
times are tough too.
That's super important. I think overall, my opinion on the vibes thing and like the team culture, I think there's a balance of it. I don't think you have to be best friends in and out of game. You know, like you don't have to like be bestest of friends and talk to each other 24/7. But I think if like your mentality is business, there's like a weird line there that you can't cross, in the sense of just being like unbearably annoying and just like not getting anything productive. And then like if there's that internal beef of like teammates clashing, you go to practice, one thing goes wrong, this player says something to this player, and then it explodes and the practice is a waste. Like that's not business is business. That's just stupidity. Like when you're approaching a practice, I think that's a lot on the coach's end for me, speaking like from personal experience too. If there is internal beef, or there is like that player to player like not working, you have to squash that and figure out how to squash it immediately. If you have
put them in a ring.
Yeah, you seriously, like sometimes let them, you know, say whatever the hell they want to each other and figure it out, because if they don't, you're never going to get the most like the most productive
like
practice. Yeah, and then that also, you know, you have two other players on the team that aren't, you know, they're sitting there like, we get along, but you guys are being annoying. Hello. Like, so you have to definitely like figure out a way to squash that, and then just business is business, but like, you know, act like that when you're actually going, like when you're practicing. I think it's super important for the culture of the team to be there.
When you're all getting along, you're going hard every time, you're having fun with it. Like you're just gonna want to be there, rather than if you're not getting along with someone, then you're not even gonna want to practice. Like
and I think that goes, and everyone's different, everyone has that mentality. I just think it's like how you approach practice. If you don't like someone on your team, I understand that, and I've been there before, but when you approach practice, you have to approach it with like, all right, what am I going to work on for myself today? You know, we talked about that a little bit. Like you can kind of set those small goals of like, I'm going to, you know, not throw my life away here, or I'm going to work on my small talk, or I'm going to do whatever it is. And then like your team goal of like whatever you're going to improve on the day two after you watch VODs, you go to that and figure it all out. You have to make sure that's like your number one priority before you start letting your emotions of someone else, like how you feel about someone else, like kind of get in the way, if that is your mentality. But I think overall getting, you know, having that team culture is important, and trying to find the best ways to find compromise and making sure everyone's getting along is super important. And I think that kind of goes to the coaching staff though too, to make sure the culture of the team and how practices are being approached is there. Like I think after the exhibition match, I talked to my players a lot, and Preston, you know, you were there with this exact team, and then also just like with my coaching. The way you approach practice in that culture is definitely going to get shifted for us, because I don't like the way we've been doing it, and I think that was a problem last year for us too. So that's more of like my job to shift that. And then going to the next part of this question, it was more like coach-player relationship. I would love to hear two players speak about that because I personally think that's important. But I mean, obviously, whatever you guys think.
Coach?
Yeah, you guys have both been coached now. Like Preston, you have a different coach now too, and then Tommy, you've had different coaches throughout the year. So it's like I would love to hear what you think about like what's the most important thing out of a coach you guys get, right? Like what do you think's like super important for that? And then we'll go into the rookie of the year and MVP and stuff. But what do you guys think the most important quality of a coach is for you? Like as a player personally, like what helps you the most, or if you just think coaches are absolutely useless, like, fuck it, say it. Like I don't care. So it's like, say what you guys think.
I mean, I don't think coaches are useless. I think the best thing you can get out of a coach is just I don't want them nitpicking every little thing, but I just want them making sure that they're paying attention to the game, because when you're watching the game, you see stuff that you can't see while you're playing sometimes, So like when they're watching, as long as they're clipping stuff and putting in their input at their maps and doing what they have to do, then that's all you really need from a coach, to make sure that you're trying to get your team on the right page, and I hope coaches don't just pick on one player. I hope there's no punching bags going on. I think everybody needs to be equally accountable for mistakes and stuff like that. So I think as long as the coach is just spreading love to everybody and picking out mistakes and clipping stuff and just trying to make the team better, then he's doing his job.
What do you think, Preston?
For me, obviously, like what Tommy said, I agree with it. I also like when like coaches like make sure everyone's on time and like make sure everyone's going hard. If someone's not calling out as hard and they notice it, like I want them to be like, yo, Preston, like why aren't you calling out as hard? Like start going hard. Like what are you doing? Because if I'm just practicing and I'm calling out annoyed and like I'm just getting just dumped on, like I need someone to tell me like, yo, like what the hell are you doing? Like wake up and start going hard. And then I'll be like, okay, you're right. Like that, just having someone tell me that just makes me like snap out of it a little bit.
Oh yeah,
so that's what I like a lot.
You're gonna show up on days, man, and you're gonna want nothing to do with Call of Duty. Yeah, it's just gonna happen.
You want a coach who's not afraid to just say how it is. Like sometimes some coaches might feel a little, intimidated by some of the players just because like it's a respect thing, But luckily, I've never had that problem, because the only people that I've really been coached by are you, Chris, and Bobble, right? I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
with FaZe, it was you.
It was FaZe. It was like FaZe. It was RJ was the coach, and then
RJ. Well,
I did.
Yeah, RJ was, and RJ just tells it how it is.
Yeah,
like,
RJ's got no filter with that.
Which is why I really like RJ as a coach, because he's just like, he doesn't matter who you are or what you do. Like RJ's gonna tell you, like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So I've never had really much problems with my coaches.
Okay. Yeah. No. I personally think like, from my point of view, being a coach for now 2 years and like kind of like really settling into the role of like not a player at all. Like when I was on 100 Thieves, it was like I just stopped playing, so I was still like a player kind of in the learning. Like I think what I've learned through coaching for me, and a lot of people ask me this like on my stream all the time, at the end of the day, I am not playing the game, right? Like I'm not in the game with them. I'm not in the comms. Like you guys know that. Like last year, I think our comms were a big issue, Preston, and like I am not there for those moments. And like sometimes I wish I was when I was watching, but like I truly don't think a coach should be there, to be honest. I think it's a skill to have all that composure and stuff, and I've voiced my opinion about that. But for me, with coaching and like coaching players, like you want your players to respect you, but like it is also your players' team. Like your players are the team, and like they're doing that work. So like I feel like motivating and strategy is super important, of course, and you have your analyst and you have your assistant coach, and like I do a lot of strategy. You guys know how I like look at the mini map. I can stare at a mini map in Call of Duty for hours, but it's more or less like how the culture of the team is, and that's like a big focus for me this year with my team is when you're showing up to scrims, what is actually your goal? Sometimes I feel like a lot of teams just show up to scrims and they just want to win every map, and that's cool. Right? Winning a scrim 8-0 is fun. It's great. You guys have all done it. I've done it as a player. It's a fun time, but learning how to learn through winning is like a really big culture thing for like our team and like even probably you guys. Like sometimes you can win every map and it kind of, all the mistakes you did have get brushed under the rug because you're not really worried about them because you won, right? You win a tournament, you're not going back and being like, I'm going to critique my like championship finals. Like you're not doing that. But realistically, like sometimes you have to actually like look at yourself and be like, even though we won, we probably could have won by more, or like we have to start focusing on this rotation or how we're holding or how we're breaking, whatever it is. And then also like making sure the players are consciously thinking about their own issues, like what Preston just said. you're going to have players that show up and don't talk sometimes. Like, Tommy, you know this. Like, I used to get on you all the time when we were teaming. Like, you know, like, why am I not hearing you speak your spawns? Like, stuff like that, where you have to make sure your players are, like, consciously working on themselves, too. Because if every player is trying to be the best version of themselves, in my opinion, the best version of themselves, that's, like, leadership in itself of if you're the best version of yourself and you're helping your teammates become the best version of themselves and you're leaning on each other and you become this, like, cohesive unit, that is where that's a sense of leadership, and that's where your team becomes the best that they can be. Because not only are you working on, like, winning raid hardpoint, right? That's not the only goal. The goal should be so much more of, like, you work on your small talk, you work on this, you work on not throwing away your life, you work on a way, like, valuing your life, like, all that stuff. Every player has a weird tendency, and that's kind of what I try and find in all of my players and then go from there. So that's what I've been focused on as a coach, and that's the way I view it. Every coach is different, though, and I would love to have a coach on this podcast eventually, too, and talk to him about it. But that is probably overall how I think. And then the last part of this question, really quick, was the Rookie of the Year and MVP. Who do you guys think the Rookie of the Year will be? I think the Rookie of the Year is kind of easy. And then the MVP of the Year. Just if you had to take a random guess. Of course, this is so short-lived in the season already, but I don't know.
MVP is tough for me.
I think the Rookie of the Year is, like, I feel like Neptune is set up for that.
I'm going Neptune, yeah.
That was the first person that came to my mind. Who else is there? There's DiamondCon.
DiamondCon, yeah.
DiamondCon now.
Who else came up like this year?
I don't.
Onto the team.
Am I forgetting someone? I don't think. If we are forgetting someone, I apologize. I'm trying to think of all the rosters. Oh wait. What about Paris and Fire? Right?
Oh yeah.
Fire.
He's a good one.
He's another one.
He looks good too.
Yeah, he's been playing well from what I've heard. I haven't seen too much of them though. And that's the reason why I also forgot that.
DiamondCon's underrated too. I think that kid's really good.
It's hard to tell right now because I haven't really watched them play enough. But just like off of what I have played, I probably would say Neptune right now.
I think Neptune's got the most hype around him because of his past of Halo, and that kind of gives him an unfair advantage. But we'll see how he actually plays. Of course, the stats and the play styles will speak for themselves. Probably most.
I never really watched him play Halo. I'm just going off of like kind of just playing the teams and
of course.
Like you can tell he has talent, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd probably say Neptune, but I'm super excited to see how Diamond plays and super excited to see how Fire plays too. If I forgot any other rookies, I apologize. Good. Yeah, like really or younger players that are coming up. And then MVP. Wow. I don't know.
That's tough, dude. There's so many good
like, who is going to have a stellar year this year? Like,
I'm a big fan of Envoy. I'm a big Envoy fan.
Envoy's been nasty.
Big Bruce dropped 9K in H today. I was watching him doing his thing.
I'm gonna say.
Dude, I don't know. Don't keep your eye on Mac too. I mean, MVP's like kind of like, you know. That's a big title, bro. That's a big title to have. Well, there's a lot of talent in the league.
You also have to have a team that wins to get that title. Exactly. You're not like you're not going to be on a 10th place team and getting the MVP. Just plain and simple. So it's like you have to put that into effect. Personally, I'm keeping my team out of this because that's just stupid. You know, I'm looking to not use my bias there.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. I'm trying not to.
Yeah, I'm not picking anyone on my team. I'm gonna go
with my son MC.
You think so? MC has been flying in this
MC
year.
is nasty, dude.
Yeah.
MC's gross at this game.
He's been playing well.
The game, but
my team losing full today.
He's got to be the most annoying person to play against.
Doing the snake slide and stuff, you know what I'm talking about?
When his movement is so obnoxious, dude. Yeah.
And Clay was losing his shit. This guy's snake sliding. Oh shit.
I'm gonna go. I personally think, like, Preston, I honestly think if your team does well, you know, like, and your team, like, goes, like, to, like late in a bunch of tournaments and wins a couple this year and, you know, like, has a really good year, I think you're going to shine with your current team just like you did with 100 Thieves because I think you're in a role now where you can do that, right? You're not, like, in a spot where there's, like, 3 other players on your team that are just as fast as you. So it's, like, it's kind of hard to, like, balance that. So I think you're a top candidate for me. I mean, Shotzi and Hugh and Illy, they're all possibilities, right? And then for Optic, I would go probably. I think Bruce is going to have a good year. So I don't know who it's going to be, like the one person, but those would be like my initial thoughts, and then we'll see how the season plays on how teams go. But I think like Dashy's gonna do really good this year with that team.
Bruce and Kyler's really good at this game.
Yeah,
too.
Kyler's really good.
Nasty.
Yeah, I think Kyler stood out to me the most when we played Dallas. When I'm just like, all right, bro, we get it. You know, like we understand. Yeah,
bro. When we're playing him in control, this man was just spawn trapping the hell out of us. Dude, I've never seen it like he'd kill me and just instantly run to our base. I'm like, yo, he's in our base. Like,
yeah, we gotta get him out of our base again. Yeah,
I'm like, I'm getting spawn killed.
No, for sure. So yeah, he's definitely stood out to me. Shotzi's really good, and so is Illy and Krim and all them. But like, I feel like we've had a issue with like Hugh just being annoying. Like he gets one kill, and then all of a sudden he's in your base, and you're just like, dude, did we get this guy? And then you have to like find him, and by the time you find him, he's taking 3 down with him. So I think those are my candidates. I don't know who I would pick yet, but we'll wait and see. All right, so that was a fair question, but now we can move into the fun stuff. People that want to hear the split of Atlanta FaZe, and people that want to talk about, of course, Tommy and ZooMaa, stepping back for a little bit and figuring out his situation. We'll do the Preston one first. So, Preston, you can be as raw and honest as you want, and I'll do the same thing. Like, when we split, just for everyone's information, and me and Preston split initially, and then just the team had to make a change, it was not in any way like a bad blood. It was probably the smoothest exchange ever, and I was super happy because I knew Preston, like the team that you like landed on, I knew it was going to be perfect for you, and I was super happy. And then like you were stoked with your team, and then on top of that, like we had a really good spot. So I personally think like people thought like maybe there was something behind the scenes that happened like that. It didn't, but yeah. So explain a little bit on how you ended up on Rocker and like what happened, the reasons why, and I'll explain from my point of view and stuff too.
Yeah, so obviously, like, you guys came up and told me, like, hey, like, we want to pick up Alec, and I was like, okay, I mean, that makes sense. Alex is a fucking beast. And, like, you guys are saying, like, oh, you guys, like, kind of, like, want, like, that leadership role, which makes sense, too, because, I mean, with me and Mike on the team, we weren't, like, we weren't, like, the you or the Lamar or, like,
the accuracies of the world and the slashers of the world, those are different type of leaders. Yeah. Exactly.
The way I approached it was definitely different than that because I felt like I definitely had like I was talking a lot.
Oh no,
saying,
you
well,
did.
Like, what
for
we
sure.
could have thought, like what we could have done better and stuff. But I was more of doing it on like the nice way, which honestly like can either be really effective or it's not as effective. And for our team, it obviously like it wasn't as effective as maybe an Alec where he's gonna call out people more. So I mean the whole change just made sense. And then eventually, like, obviously I had to look around at what teams I wanted to join. I had a few options, and then I ended up just going with Rocker because, one, I wanted a team with Mike still, and that was a big reason why I came to Minnesota. And then Dylan and Lamar were the other two already set there. And I've teamed with Dylan in the past. Like, we've all teamed. Us three with Dylan have teamed. And then Lamar I've never teamed with, but obviously I knew how he was just from playing eights and just hearing people talk about him and on his team and stuff. So, like, it just made sense to me to join this team.
Yeah, I think having like a player like Lamar on one of your teams, by the way, and like even when I was the Lamar too, like what like back then, like the accuracy, like that kind of crazy leader that yells at everybody. It's just like I think you respond to that really well because I think you have a very thick mind or like thick skin, I guess, in the sense of you can take someone saying some. I don't know how Lamar does it, but
I went through all of them, bro.
You can take some comments, bro. Yeah, like I've said some shit to you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how it goes, and like you were able to deal with that a lot. And I also think that helps you get better because you watch a lot of the stuff that some of these guys say, and like Slasher and like Accuracy are some of the smartest players in COD. They don't say something, even though sometimes they say it the wrong way, without usually it being either correct or slightly correct, so to the point where you can take that information and then be like, okay, they're right, but I'm going to do this too, and like add your own spin to it. So like, I think that was really, I think having those roles on you, like for you, help you like strive a lot, and that's why I think personally you've been playing really well this year. So, and then from my point of view, this is for a lot of Atlanta FaZe fans that didn't really ever get like a full answer because I haven't been doing the podcast or anything. With our team last year, in my opinion, we were a top 2 team in the league. There's no arguing it. We won a bunch, and if we didn't win, we always got into the finals. Sometimes we didn't, close it out, but we were a top 2 team in the league last year. But I just think a lot of the times, like those closer matches, and like some of the times, like the culture of the practice, in my opinion, I would get on you guys a lot last year because I kind of had to do that because we didn't have anyone in game like Slasher or Accuracy doing that. And sometimes when like your coach has to do that all the time, it kind of like you can kind of lose your team. You know, sometimes you lose the team of like, all right, you know, we get it, Crowder. You know, we got to rotate the right way. I got to go here first. When it's the same voice over and over, it's tough to have that where like if you have like the coach doing that sometimes and then sometimes a player doing that and like kind of bouncing like the good cop, bad cop kind of vibe, it helps out a lot. And I think the culture of our practice last year was just a little bit off of not having someone holding others accountable for the way they were acting sometimes. And that goes for all 5 of you. There was days where MC wouldn't talk. There was days where the BZ wouldn't talk. There was days where like Simp was off or Major was off. Like there was you, same thing. Like
every team.
Yeah, and every time that's there, you always need that one player that does not care about anything else, and he's going to tell you like, you know, lock it in, fix it, figure it out, and then like on top of that, like I love having like that player that like calls like a team VOD session without the coach there. You know. Like Lamar, I know for a fact, I don't even know this, but I can probably predict it. There's been plenty of times accuracy has came to both of you when you were teaming, or Slasher has done it too, and like all these like leader type people, and they say like, yo, we're figuring this out. Look at this VOD with me like right now. And like we're figuring it out. And like everyone gets there and the coach might not even be there. The coach doesn't even need to be alerted. And that stuff to me is what keeps the team together in like those pressure situations of like that voice of reason. It's like, all right, yo, like we prepared for this, let's get it. And I feel like that's what we were missing on Atlanta FaZe is we had so much talent, but no one to really, really have that, like that super accountability. And sometimes you even take it too far, but that's necessary sometimes in my opinion. I really do believe that. Like sometimes you just got to overstep that line and be like, yo, focus the fuck up. And then, you know, some other exchanges go down, but I think that helps. So I think that was like the main reason for us is getting Alec or someone of the sort would be super important, and then it was just more or less like figuring out like what would be the best fit, dude. And like when you have a team, in my opinion, Major and you, and then Simp, and then Abizi, and then Celium, like what do you do? Like it was just so hard. And then and then like that's my thing where you had like when we were talking about like options for all the players of where they could go if like this, if we decided this roster or this roster or this roster. You guys had a really good roster to end up on with, you know, a good contract, a really good organization. Like personally speaking, I love the Minnesota ownership. Every time I talk to them, they've been super good. And like, you know, my view of like ownership, I think good ownership and good management. And if they care about their players a lot and like treat them with respect and like help them like grow as people is huge. So like when we figured all of this out, I feel like that was just the right thing to do. Like you were going to land with a solid contract, a really good organization, really good coaching staff, and a great team. And like that, if we, you know, make a different decision that like might not lead to that can screw someone else over. Like I think we ended up probably having the smoothest but best exchange for everybody, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that was.
No, yeah, it was.
I was like
impressed.
It
ended up working out too because me and Mike ended up staying together. So
and you wanted to stay with him, like you wanted to stay with Mike because Mike is such a good teammate. And then we also needed like a main AR leadership role. So then that throws a wrench into everything. There was just so much thought into it, but I think honestly for both parties, like we ended up with a great team, you guys ended up with a great team, and then you guys ended up on a not just a great team, but again a good coaching staff and a great ownership. Like all those guys in Minnesota, man, are so nice. Like they're so awesome to talk to, and I think that's huge. Same thing with Atlanta FaZe, like, you know, Paul and Eric, like they're the best. Like working with Paul too is the same thing. So I think
100%.
That couldn't have been any smoother. So if anyone ever, you know, kind of wondered how that went down, that's how it went down. It wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was arguing. Me and Mike were arguing with everyone.
Yeah,
no. They just hated us and want to get rid of us. Like.
Yeah, no, seriously.
It had to be done. It was going to 44, and like it was what needed to be done.
The talk was just like, can we just stay together? Like, do we have, you know, like, can we just figure this out like a different way? Like, there was talks too of honestly just like trying to stick it out and figuring out that too, and like almost forcing a leadership role upon one of you. And we talked about that, but like that also, say if it was you, Preston, if I have to force you to, you know, almost be someone that you're too damn nice, bro. Plain and simple, you're too nice. I'm gonna. You're too nice. You're not gonna say some of the shit that I've said to, you know, Tommy over here or attach in game. You know, like you're not doing that. Period. And like to make you do that, it's gonna make you uncomfortable. And like then you're not gonna be worried about your own game. So I think it was a smooth one and it went well. And then moving on to you, Tommy. Let's talk about you.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so this is probably what a lot of people are watching this podcast for. But explain a little bit as much as you can, and you talk about what you want to talk about, whatever you're comfortable with. The reason behind the decision, what happened, what's going on with you, what's your plans. Let's get into you a little bit. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to kick it off, we'll start when the injury first started coming up. It was back when we were on FaZe, a few years back. We were living together. We were in the Austin house. It was a team house, so we were all there. So you kind of saw me going through it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I randomly just one day a few years ago when we were on FaZe, I just lost strength in my thumb. Like with my hand on the controller, I couldn't move my analog stick. Like my thumb got so weak, and I couldn't move it. And obviously, it gradually got there. It started getting weak, and it was fine. I was still able to play, but I noticed something happening, and then eventually it just got worse and worse and worse to the point where I couldn't move my thumb, and it felt like I couldn't play. So I got it checked out by a few doctors. I went to like 2 or 3 doctors. They couldn't find anything wrong with me. They're like, it's in your head. Your hand looks fine. Everything's good. I say, you're out of your fucking mind. I can't move my thumb. So I went to we found in Jersey, New York, like there's some really good doctors. So we found a specialist. And I think the main problem with the first couple doctors I went to is they weren't looking at me as a professional gamer. They were looking at me as an ordinary person. So they were just seeing, and they were looking inside my hand, and they were like, dude, your hand looks fine. But they don't realize I do this for a living, so they might need to go into more depth. There's definitely something wrong if I can't move my thumb. So I went to this other doctor. He was a specialist. He won like awards and shit. So I was like, Mom, I want to go to this guy. We went to this guy. He was like checking my nerves. He was checking my arm, my neck, because there's just so much that controls your hand. There's so much that goes into it. And then after doing some testing and stuff, he found a cyst in my wrist that was literally like 1 centimeter big. Like it was so tiny you can barely see it on the MRI or the CAT scan or wherever he saw it. And other doctors, I guess, because I called them back after the fact, and they told me it was harmless. Like the cyst wasn't doing anything. And this doctor, the specialist, was like, no, this cyst is sitting on your thumb tendon, so it's blocking your tendon. Like it's obstructing your range of motion, I guess is the way to say it.
Yeah.
So he's like, we're gonna have to remove it. It's the only thing that I can think of that's making your thumb weak or feeling like you can't move your thumb, because everything else looked normal. So then he did the surgery. It was a tough surgery because it was very close to a major artery. So they had to be really careful with what they did.
Yeah.
So Dr. Tan, shout out to Dr. Tan. He took it out, and then as soon as he took it out, but my thumb, I was able to use my thumb again. Like I could actually move my thumb, and it felt way better. And that was like mind blowing, like a mind blowing feeling to like come out of surgery and instantly feel it. It's like it was just such a relief that I was able to move my thumb again. But then after surgery, you have problems there. You have a scar there. There's some damage down there. I have scar tissue building up there now. I don't know if you guys know what scar tissue is.
Yeah.
But when you have surgery and they cut you open, like even in my knee for my ACL surgery, like you get scar tissue, and it's basically just like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it messes shit up.
Yeah, that's when I got surgery on my wrist.
Yeah. When you get you probably know what it is. And that's another thing. They cut me open at the top of my wrist and the bottom of my wrist, so I'm cut open on both sides.
Oh damn.
And there's just a lot of scar tissue down there, and it leads to pain and stuff like that. But that was like doable, Like I was playing through that for a couple of years. Like sometimes I'll get pain down there, but like, dude, like we do this for a living. Like you play through the pain. Like everybody has hand pains. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't anything big, which getting to my next point really bothers me that, sometimes you see people online saying, oh, this kid's a bitch, just play through it. Like that's not how it is. Like I can't move my fucking thumb. You know what I'm saying? So now it just came back, like I was playing this year. I started off the year fine. Like you were
playing really well.
Yeah, I was playing well. I felt good. Again, occasionally I'll have some hand pain and a little bit of weakness, like tightness here or there, but like nothing crazy. Like I always played through it since the surgery. Never had a problem. And the weakness just came back. Like the weakness was starting to come back, and I was like, you already know I'm panicking a little bit because like the weakness is coming back, and I'm like, oh shit, like I'm getting flashbacks. A few days go by, I'm playing through it, it's getting worse and worse and worse, and then one day it just gets really bad again. And the weakness is so bad to the point where I feel like I can't even shoot straight. Like I feel like I'm just like, I can't get a trade. I could barely move my thumb. I could barely remember looking up, Chris? I was like, I can't even throw the uplink ball in the portal when we were playing.
I remember that back in the day.
I couldn't even throw the uplink ball.
Wait, I think Dill was talking about that the other day, actually.
Yeah, I remember that.
I had to throw. I was calling out in game. I can't throw the ball. Like somebody.
You was passing the ball.
Yeah, I was passing the ball to my teammates because I couldn't throw it, and it's like. Then it starts taking a toll on me mentally. Now, like mentally, I'm like stressing out. I'm anxious. I'm sad. I feel like I can't do what I love to do at the level that I want to do it at. And you know me, like both of you know me. You both team with me. Like I'm like a perfectionist. Like I always want to do well. I always want to do my thing. So it was really hard for me to not be able to do something that I love to do at the highest level, and feeling like I'm hindering my team. Like now we're like, I can't get a simple trade. I'm the main sub. I'm supposed to be the main sub superstar on the team, and I can't do what I got to do, nor can I even do basic stuff like get a trade. And I just feel like I'm hindering the team. And I just feel like it wasn't fair to my team, and it wasn't fair to myself to just put myself through that, like to just deal with all that. And that's kind of what led me to stepping down. I mean, I kind of figured that eventually the hand will go, because like I'm gonna get it checked out. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing as last time. It could be anything. It could be tendonitis. It can be maybe carpal tunnel, or I don't know how carpal tunnel works, but I'm guessing it might have something to do with the cyst and the scar tissue and just everything that's going on in my wrist. I feel like it's coming from the same spot. So obviously I'm gonna get it checked out, and I think the main thing for me now is just to do physical therapy and just try and like strengthen my hand and see what happens and see if I can come back. But I mean, if it's just a reoccurring injury, that now, you know, even the first time the doctor was like, you know, like this might affect you for the rest of your life. You might feel some discomfort there. So it's kind of just something that I have to deal with. But as of right now, just feeling like I was hindering the team and stuff, I just thought it was the right decision to take a step back and focus on other things and let my team find somebody else and try and win. And obviously that was really difficult for me to do because I've been doing this for 8 years at a high level. And I've always been at the top for so long. So it was so hard for me to actually come to that decision. And it took me a few days to actually actually want to do it, because I was just trying to play through it. And I just couldn't.
Yeah, because that's a huge decision. Like, you have to take your time with that. You know?
It's huge.
My biggest thing with what you said is like, well, yeah, I know you get the comment, you know, like this kid's just being, you know, being lame. He's not doing it. I get that, but like my thing for that is, even if, you know, the pain was there and like you know you're claiming the pain is just so bad or you can't move your thumb, it's like it's not even that. It's the point of you're playing at a, you know, this highest level of the best players in the world, and I know not everyone understands that like there is definitely a gap that like, you know, some people just can't get there. And like you're playing against Shots, you're playing against Priestahh, you're playing against Simp, you're playing all these names of BZ. Like I can go down this. It's like you don't want to be on your team. Like everyone's different, but you don't want to be on your team if you're not playing at 100%, and you know you're not playing at 100%. It's like, yeah, you can play through it, and maybe, you know, you have a little bit more average numbers, but in the back of your mind, at least how I operate, you know, you're letting your team down, right? You know,
it's like unfair almost.
Yeah, you're not competing at the highest level that you know you can compete at, and there is enough for me not to retire. You know, you didn't retire. You're stepping back for a little bit. You're figuring it out. You're gonna get it checked out, and like that's a big thing on you, because like you've had such a successful career. You've had so many accomplishments. You've done so many things in the Call of Duty scene. You're one of the biggest brands. Like you have so much with you. To not play through it and, you know, not be selfish. That's what you're doing right now. You're not being selfish about it and, you know, staying there no matter what and not really telling anyone about it, because you could technically have an average season and not do that well with like what's going on in your hand, and it's going to be really hurt you. Yeah. But, you know, you're still getting paid and you're still doing it. So like, well, some people, exactly. So it shows a lot about the person you are, about thinking of the team and the staff and the ownership that you're playing for, to like, you know, tell them like, yo, I love what you guys are doing for me, and I love you guys, but like I got to step back for a little bit and figure it out. And they respected that, and I'm sure they did. But I just think it's like, yeah, you're taking a step back right now. You're gonna get it checked out. You're gonna figure it all out, and then like you make a decision later on from there. And that's like shows of how good of a teammate you are right then and there, of just like what you need to do sometimes, because you don't want to compete against the Shotsies, the Priesthahs, the Simps, and feel like that.
I always say, like. I compete because I want to get first place.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't compete because I want to get. I could have made do.
Of course, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, and get top 6, top 4. Like we were still beating some of these.
You were still a good team.
Other teams. It's just when you're playing like the top of the top players and they're moving around so quickly, like I physically cannot keep up. And mentally, it was just taking a toll on me. And I think a lot of the problems, just most of the hate that I've seen online was just from boomers, bro. Like people who don't watch gaming or don't know anything
I mean,
about it.
people are always going to put their opinion on when they don't have any actual.
We were talking about this yesterday with the guy on Instagram. Like some guy literally posted an article and it was like, this guy needs a father figure in his life. Basically,
yeah, I saw your Instagram story. Yeah.
And I was like, who the fuck is this motherfucker, dude? Like, fuck this guy.
Well, the thing is too, like injuries in like gaming don't happen often, so it's like when people see that,
well,
like, what the hell? Like,
you also don't realize how they happen.
Some injury causes gamer to retire or step away, which I never even said I retired in my statement, but I guess people look at it as a retirement.
It's not
because,
a retirement,
you know, it's a reoccurring injury, and I'm stepping down, so people might look at it that way. But all the articles say the same thing, like the New York Post, BBC, like all this stuff, CNN or whatever the hell it is. It literally went viral when I tweeted it. I guess I don't know why, but it just went crazy. And I'm just seeing like all the hate that I was getting on like Facebook and stuff from like these boomers that just don't watch gaming and don't know anything about it.
Wow, I didn't realize you were getting hate for that.
Bro, so much hate. Like on Facebook, it was terrible. Like I was getting like hundreds of comments, just kids, like people just calling me a pussy, like saying I was a bitch, like play through it. Like somebody say the top comment was, now you can get a real job, pick up a fucking hammer or something. And I was like, bro, like we put in so much time and worked so hard. I've been doing this for years. Like it's not my fault. These fools are miserable in their own lives and don't pursue a dream or pursue something they want to do, you know? Like I pursue something I was passionate. Yeah, they don't know.
Dude, it's just, you know how it is. And like I think the big thing is what Preston said. You don't see injuries in gaming a lot because it's not very, you know, there's not a lot, it's not a physical contact sport. But so like immediately when you see it, like people like try and like kind of discredit it for that reason, but it's the same shit in anything that you do. If something is hindering you from playing at the top of the top level and the best that you can be, especially in a team game, you don't want to, you know, sit there and let your team down regardless of it. And like, you know, it's not a retirement. I know there was a lot of articles that said so. You didn't say that in your statement, and that's what I'm like obviously saying here to make it clear. You're stepping back for a little bit and you're letting your team grow and prosper to what they can be so you can figure out yourself, you know, do a little content here and there and still play and do what you're doing and help the team out in any way you can, but also figure it out and then make a future decision later. And like that's a big thing and it shows a lot out of you, but like I'm glad you talked about it because that's just something where personally the way I operate, you compete to get first place. Obviously, you don't get first place every single time. Some people more than others, but
what you said too, like you don't see many injuries in gaming. I guarantee you're gonna start seeing a lot more because with gaming now, it's just so big, and like people at a young age are seeing how big it is and how accomplished you could be gaming. People are playing really competitively at a young age, so their hands are going crazy for years and years and years. Bro, people are gonna have problems. Like people, unless make sure, like Preston, you're obviously still competing. And I always say this: take care of your hands. Like take care of yourself. Make sure you're stretching, exercising your hands, like doing everything that you can.
It sounds crazy, but it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
It sounds wild, but it's actually not a joke.
It's like being a musician. Like guitar players have problems with carpal tunnel, or piano players and stuff like that, and they have stuff. Sometimes they have injuries where they can't do what they love to do anymore because they get carpal tunnel or do this or do that. And then they have to get surgery, and then they come back, and they might not be the same. You know, they might not be the same as they were. So take care of your hands.
Wait, so the cyst that you had in your wrist, is that from that built up from gaming, or how is that just like a random thing? Like
like I don't know if that's from a random thing. I don't know if it built up from. The most common thing about them is they usually say it's from repetitive motion. I'm kind of putting two to two together. Like if I'm gaming all the time. At the time I was going to the gym. I don't know if the gym had any factor in it. But it was just a lot of pressure on my hands, maybe, or my wrist. Okay. So, and then that's another thing. People are like, is it the wrist or is it the thumb? It's literally the tendon that goes through my wrist into my thumb that controls my thumb. So if I'm holding a controller like this, I have one right here. If I'm holding a controller, like moving the stick is really tough. Like my hand is weak. But right now I've been using the mouse, like the keyboard and mouse.
It's a way different motion.
So people join my stream like, you said you were hurt. Like what the fuck? Like people are just so dumb.
You're dumb. You can't like do like a full circle motion.
I just can't do range of motion. Like I can't flick with my thumb on the stick. Like it's impossible. My thumb's too weak.
But it just still comes back to, even if you were like semi hurt, you know, where like you can still play, but not at the top level, you get to choose you know, whether or not you want to make sure you're competing at the top level because you just don't want to let the people around you, you know, down for a little bit, or
I don't want to
yourself.
let
So it's
anybody
like,
down. Yeah, I don't want to let anybody
people
down. And
people
it's
love to
just,
make opinions without knowing the full knowledge of what's going on, and then you know how the people get. That's just what people love to do is speculate and stuff. So it's like, but it's good to hear, you know, that you didn't make a crazy decision. You're just gonna figure stuff out, you know, step back a little bit, figure it out, get it checked out, and then go from there.
I think a lot of people just see it as a retirement. I mean, I
It's
potentially
not.
may never come back.
Well,
to
yeah,
competing.
but
You know, like I guess a lot of it now is just like it's a reoccurring injury. I don't know if I'll ever feel the same, and that's kind of just something I have to wait and let time run its course and see what happens and see if a pro team will even give me another shot. If I come back and say I'm feeling good, you know, since it's reoccurring, a pro team might not even want to give me a shot because they think it's just going to come back or something's going to happen, or you know, they might not want to take a chance on it. So a lot of it's what ifs. So I think in the meantime, I'm just gonna, you know, focus on myself and my health and focus on my content. I think I just want to start pushing out some more content.
Twitch.tv/ZooMaa
Yeah,
action.
I mean, I've already been pumping out some streams.
Come on.
To ZooMaa. We were streaming yesterday, Chris.
Yeah,
so,
we're having a lot of fun.
I mean, I enjoy doing it, and I think this year is just more on like, you know, finding the right next thing to do, you know, and a lot of it's just gonna be a lot of what ifs, and we'll see what happens. And yeah, I don't know. We'll give it a few months and see where it goes. But I really do enjoy streaming. I'm not gonna lie.
Streaming's fun, man. You saw what Enable tweeted today. Actually, he tweeted that when he first retired, like actually retired, he was like super anxious. Same thing with me, bro. I was sitting in the room like, oh boy. I was more excited to retire because I was gonna do it anyway. But like, even that, you still have that uncertainty of like what's gonna happen with your content and stuff like that. And
I definitely do.
You know, it felt really good to be able to do like what I'm doing now with like the crowd and my Twitch stream, and then now doing the podcast and stuff like that. So I've been super happy with it. I mean, we'll see where, you know, what your true passion is. I think at the end of the day, it's what makes you the most happy in life is like super important. And you're in a good spot right now in your life where, you know, you've done well, you've been super successful, and you know, now you just kind of step back and make that decision whether or not you want to figure it all out, and then also just do what makes you happiest in life. I mean, that's that's super important. Yeah. But yeah, I think we'll see a lot more like wrist and like hands and like care in like probably 10-20 years from now with gaming. I really do. I think that's going to be like a mandatory thing in organizations is like actually taking care of that, and I'm sure we'll see more of that. But I think you know, we went for an hour and like probably like 10 minutes here-ish around there. You know, so I mean, the only other thing maybe was there something else that I didn't see anything else that was too crazy, but I think we covered everything, you know. We talked a little CDL. We talked a little, you know, Atlanta FaZe Split, some of the drama, the crazy arguments that went down, you know, behind it. And then, you know, all about the ZooMaa Step Back. You know, it's not a retirement yet. You know, you're still figuring it out. And I think people need to know that too. And then on top of that, just like, you know, the backstory of what was going on. So I think that's about it. And, you know, I appreciate having you guys both on. Everyone that's watching this now, Priestahh and ZooMaa both. They have Twitters, they have Instagrams, they have YouTubes, and it's below. And then they also have Twitches, which yours is not below, Preston, but your Twitch is twitch.tv/Priestahh as well. These guys stream a bunch. They do a bunch of YouTube videos. Preston, I've been peeping the Instagram content as well, the little loadouts, you know. I'm liking that. But yeah, so if you guys want to follow any of their socials on, you know, right there below, it's twitch.tv/Priestahh as well. And then all the socials under ZooMaa's camera right there. I appreciate having you guys both on. Everyone watching this, I, you know, haven't done a podcast in a while. Last time I did this podcast, we weren't super consistent, but I plan on doing this a lot with a bunch of different guests and stuff, maybe bi-weekly. I'm going to try and stay as consistent as I can be. So if you guys enjoyed it, you know, if you're watching the YouTube video, drop a like, comment. I would love to hear what you guys thought of this episode, who you guys want on next. And yeah, I appreciate you guys both coming on. Thank you guys. And peace out, guys.
Appreciate it.